All right, hey guys, I wanted to come on for a few minutes and talk about something nutrition-based. I went to this conference. I got to sit in with some MDs and neuroscientists, and they had some really awesome suggestions to support people in treating depression that are not medication-based. And this is a cause near and dear to my heart because I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorders as a very young person. And I had a lot of trauma and PTSD then. I was put on medication and I spent several decades on medication. And I was looking for that magic pill in a bottle, and I never found that really they worked very well for me. And so at some point I got myself off of that stuff and started to explore other options to support my feeling not depressed. But part of the happiness journey is going to naturally be talking about its opposite, depression. What's down at the bottom of the emotional guidance scale? Powerlessness, depression, fear. But the truth is, anxiety is fear. And so you see them down here. And so there's a lot of ways to get up on the emotional guidance scale, but every subject is really two subjects. So if you're talking about happiness, you're also going to be talking about its opposite, which is depression. I think spirituality is a huge piece of it. I think that your physiology is as well. And I was fascinated in this particular session because he actually went into why antidepressants only work for about 20% of the population. This is established, they know this, and I never knew that. I wondered why things weren't as effective for me. And it turns out that there's a very specific problem that antidepressants are treating, that if you don't have that specific cause of depression, it's not really going to help you very much. And I had a lot of emotional, situational, spiritual, all kinds of things going on that contributed to my depression. And I'm finding that the more I do to support myself with exercise, sleep, nutrition, great relationships, meditation, which he actually went into some fascinating studies about meditation, but he also gave some great supplement options. And so I just wanted to run over those real quickly. I've bought them. I've put both my husband and I on them. We have holes in our diet and we have struggles with feeling down. Sometimes I'm like, let's try everything. That's what this is about, right? So a quick run over. L-methylfolate. I had never heard about this, but it turns out that folic acid or folate, which of course I've had in a multivitamin for a long time, is a really important precursor to our neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and epinephrine. The problem is folate or folic acid in the vitamin has to be metabolized to be useful, and it requires a certain enzyme that some people are deficient in. So it's much better to take L-methylfolate, which is methylated folate or metabolized folate, where that enzyme process has already happened. It can go directly across your blood-brain barrier and become a precursor for norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. So the key thing about this, though, is you have to stop taking folic acid or regular folate if you're going to add this. They work against each other. He recommended 15 milligrams a day. I'm adding 10. He said it needs to be water soluble. This is chewable. It was the closest I could get with the options. We'll see. He also mentioned, we all know about turmeric. A lot of people have heard it. We know it reduces inflammation. A lot of his talk was about how inflammation is contributing to depression. I didn't know that. So that's why junk food diets or diets that increase inflammation actually have a big impact on our mental health. And I was not aware of that connection. But curcumin has been shown to help a lot in depression and working and anti-inflammatory, but it needs to have black pepper in it. Some of the supplements you'll find don't have black pepper. So I found this one with black pepper, and it also had holy basil, double win. And it's great for fighting cancer and a bunch of other stuff. He mentioned NAC. I had never heard of this. Acetyl L-cysteine. They're finding this as a great treatment. Now, his treatments, mind you, he was speaking to a room of counselors and psychotherapists, so these are all adjunct therapies to people who are considered to be SSRI resistant or antidepressant resistant or have treatment resistant depression. Of course, they're coming from a pharmacology perspective in a lot of cases, and I'm not big into pharmacology because of my own journey with it and then understanding why it wasn't as effective. I think these types of treatments are more effective, and it's more what I'm up to. It's cheaper than going to a doctor. I haven't been to a doctor in years. I don't get sick. I think that's an element of a lot of different factors. Even being in an environment where I was working with hundreds of people a day during the middle of COVID, I navigated it without really getting sick, which is pretty crazy. And I test it all the time. So anyway, there's something to it. And but this has actually been shown, so it's an antioxidant, and it was really improved global functioning and big improvements in depression. he recommended 1,800 milligrams a day taken at one time. We're taking 1,000 at a time. We're not dealing with major depressive disorder at this point. We just want some support and feeling a little happier. So we'll see how that goes. You can't get that from your diet. So that was an interesting one to add in. And again, he gave all the mechanisms in your body of why these things work. I'm not doing that here. You could Google it and research it if you were interested. Or you could email me and I'll send you the slides. Okay, and then probiotics. I think a lot of us at this point know about the importance of a healthy microbiome. When I was put on antidepressants, they didn't know anything about that. They didn't know that serotonin largely came from your gut at that time. And they have discovered that since then. A huge part of our issues with mental health are our digestive tracts. Again, I didn't realize that was so diet related, but it makes sense why eating healthier diets, which was all throughout his presentation, is so important, and shows to improve depression by quite a bit in people when they just change diet alone. But probiotics, look, people don't realize if you take even one round of antibiotics, you knock out all the bacteria in your digestive tract, including the good stuff. So it's really easy for the bad stuff to start to take over once you're off the antibiotics. And I don't know why doctors don't prescribe a probiotic, and a prebiotic after you've been on an antibiotic. They really should, to restore your biome. There are studies that say it never really gets back to the same level, but it's really important. And so I love Garden of Life. I love this brand. I've taken their probiotics for a while. I've read that you don't need to take it all the time, that, it's good to just do in shots, because you're giving yourself sort of a lot of good bacteria, sort of do a 30-day regimen, and then you don't need to for a bit. But he didn't mention that piece. I found this one that's for mood, so it also has ashwagandha, which I loved. And so we are taking this right now. It's an important part. Lastly, omega-3s. So again, I mentioned he went into diet and the power of diet, especially the Mediterranean diet. He actually brought up a study for young men. It was a study of men from 18 to 25 that showed major depressive symptoms. And when they were put on the Mediterranean diet, 36% of them improved greatly just from the diet change alone. The thing about omega-3s and 6s, he says it really needs to be from oily fish. So you're talking salmon. So I'm adding a lot more salmon to our diet, but my hubby doesn't love salmon. So I'm also adding this. He said it's the EPA, DHA omegas that are showing the most powerful results, and you really should be on 3,000 milligrams a day. This is 1,500. It actually tastes really delicious. I was impressed because my hubby's a little picky. So anyway, really excited about that. So I'm trying all of them that he suggested. And I have to say, it's only been like a week, but we're already starting to notice improvements in feeling good and happy. I'm noticing, obviously I've been on this journey and walking myself to happiness, so I'm getting better and better at that, but I've noticed it's easier to sort of shift myself up. It feels like I'm almost getting like a little lift up, but most of it isn't supposed to really work for a few weeks. So, I think 2 to 4 weeks. So we're gonna keep going with that. But I wanted to add it in just as an option. If you're feeling down and you don't feel like there's a lot you can do to move the needle in your life. I know when I'm feeling down, the last thing I want to talk about is happiness or be around happy people. I sort of feel repulsed by it, which is helpful to understand that it's a vibrational thing and like attracts like. So if I'm down here, of course, I'm not going to feel attracted to people and joy. I'm going to feel a bit repulsed, but it's really nice to get a leg up or find something that's easy and accessible that isn't necessarily a doctor or, a medication, or maybe, starting to exercise or something that feels like much more difficult to add. Everyone's in a different place. For some people, it's easier to go out and start running. For some people, it's easier to go and sit outside in the sun. And I should add vitamin D was a big piece of this. So he did mention vitamin D. I get a lot of that being here in Colorado, but you got to make sure to get outside and get it. If it's winter, I do take a vitamin D supplement. Vitamins, I usually add a smoothie. I think that really helps with some different vitamin powders, but you probably want to take a multi-V. Make sure it doesn't have folate in it if you're taking L-methylated folate. But trying to find something you can add to get some nutrients into your body. If you don't have a very healthy diet, if you don't make enough money, it's very expensive right now to eat healthy. So there are other ways that you can sort of, and sometimes you just like junk food. Sometimes we do. And I'm like, I kind of like to have a trick for it by taking supplements. I'm like, we have access to such incredible nutrition through supplements, even if we can't get it in our diet. So finding even one thing that you can add or all of them that could potentially give you a leg up, you'll find that it's easier to make decisions in your life that help you in other areas. It's easier to go work out. It's easier to go look for a new job. It's easier to go out and be in public by yourself. Those things are all connected. And so we can't really get out and ask for help until we're feeling a little bit better. And so I will also add that I got a 10,000 lumens light, and I've been doing that in the morning as well. It was just 20 bucks off Amazon. He said people show incredible results with the light. So we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to share those sort of nutritional ads that came to me through this conference that I thought were really cool and helpful, and keep you posted on what I find.